You are listening to Watching Rehab to Riches, the podcast where we go from our journey of rehab to riches, understanding abundance and manifestation and love realized in our life. Today, we have a special guest on with us, and I want to introduce I would like Manny to introduce her because this is a guest that Manny brought on and tell you why we're so excited.
So I came across human design like a little over a year ago, and I've kind of gone like in and out of it, but it's something that's like drawn me in very deeply, and kind of like we were talking about before, there's like layers of understanding. So a few weeks ago, I'm on a TikTok like scavenger hunt for projector stuff. And then I find Tangi here, and she's got this whole playlist for projectors. And the way that she breaks things down, it's like it makes so much sense. Like I agree with what Tangi said, like the resources are kind of all over the internet. Like you could end up at like Reddit and IHDS and it's really interesting, but they don't really break it down in a way that's like, okay, what do I do with this information like right now? Like, how do I use my strategy and authority and apply it to my business? Because that's what I was really interested in and am interested in with human design. I mean, there's so many things you could do with it, but to me, like, how can I use this in my business to create a life that's like more aligned and truly feels like it's exciting for me, you know? And so
Okay. That's a lot. That's a big lot of compound questions. I love it. I love
that's
the
how
energy.
I found Tangi.
Okay, that's how you found Tangi. So Tangi, if you could give me a sizzle of like, I'm really interested in human design, and I just heard on the Lewis House, the School of Greatness podcast, he had a human design expert, and I was really surprised when he interviewed her because he kept saying, he would say things like, what's next or what else, and I was thinking, no, this is the thing. There's, you know what I mean? Like the human design is the thing, and this is we're on the cusp of this now. And so tell me a little bit about yourself and how you got into human design and how that works for you in the world.
Yeah, well, it's an interesting story. So, how did I get into human design? My ex-husband introduced it to me. And so
Mhm.
I tell people often that human design found me at a time when I absolutely needed it the most because right after, I mean, within a year of him telling me about it, I lost everything. So I lost him, right? We had this traumatic separation. I became a single mom. I had been a stay-at-home mom, so I had no income. I had no savings. I had no resume. I literally just had to walk away with pretty much nothing and figure out, right, from the ground up, okay, well, how do I make money if I don't have a resume and I haven't worked in like a decade? I mean, I'm pretty scrappy and crafty, so I always had like little businesses. That's why I say I've been an entrepreneur for a long time. But it wasn't necessarily that I had to support myself because I had a primary source of income with my husband, and it was my job to take care of the household and the kids. And so our marriage ended. Like I said, I had to become this single mom and figure out like how was I going to make money, and human design is what helped me manage my energy on a day-to-day basis because it's very, very overwhelming, and it's, in my opinion, like more than any one person should be able to handle, right? Having to work more than full time if you're an entrepreneur, having to take care of the entire household by yourself, having to manage your children, all of their needs, all of their emotions as well, and all of the things that they're healing from having gone through the same thing as me. And then, of course, all of this stuff that came up, these narratives around worthiness and why wasn't I enough and why didn't that work out. And so human design was kind of what gave me this daily thing of like, okay, this is who to be and how to be that person and really manage energy in a way that doesn't create a whole new level of trauma through burnout.
So if someone were to ask you what is human design, what would you say?
I have a whole spiel.
Yeah, let's hear.
I,
Well,
um,
whatever you want to share, of course.
as Amanda said, I'm on TikTok a lot, and I do TikTok lives. And so when I'm on TikTok live, people just pop in all over the place, and they're like, "What the heck is this? It looks like the Eras tour," because I have my body graph behind me on the green screen. And human design, a lot of people quote me because I make this joke that it's the rabbit hole to end all rabbit holes. because you
Right.
go deeper and then you go deeper and then you go and you just never actually find the end. And that's because it's a synthesis of 4 ancient systems. And I was familiar with quite a few of these already. And I didn't know that they could all kind of like fold in together and compound on top of each other. But we've got the Chinese I Ching, which is ancient Chinese divination, a way that the Chinese used to kind of predict weather and movements, even before language. And this is, according to Chinese mythology, a mythological person named Fuxi came up with it. And so it's been around for thousands of years of just kind of helping make decisions, being able to talk to the higher self or God or whatever you believe in to help you make decisions and give you a little bit more information than what's right in front of you or what you have turning over in your own mind, all of your fears and anxieties. We have Western astrology, which I've been a fan of since I can remember. I mean, I was a teenage girl reading my horoscopes in 17 magazine. We have mystical Kabbalah, and we also have the Hindu Brahmin chakra system. And so me already being interested in energy and holistic health and the way that energy moves and just the common knowledge that there's a little bit more than what science can tell us, right? There's a little bit more to our energy and the way that it works. I was like, oh, I'm all in on this, right? And so I start to dive in knowing a little bit, just a little bit about all of these ancient systems and seeing how they all come together. And then you find out in human design, we also use 2 dates. Human design has a personality date and a design date. So astrology has all of your natal placements, meaning the moment of your birth, right? Your birth date, the exact time, and the location. The location is simply for the time zone. So you get this whole natal chart, which already looks super overwhelming and complicated. And you're like, whoa, how do I understand that? And then human design goes, yeah, that's who you think you are, right? That's how you reinforce your own personality back to you. But we also have how other people see you. We have epigenetics. We have your ancestry, you have your DNA, your unconscious, right? We have this whole other side that you don't even know about. And let's put that together so you get more of a balanced and holistic view of your energy, not only how you see yourself and what resonates for you, but also how you interact with others, right? Because when we go into personality tests and we only reinforce our own personality back to us and validate ourselves, we put ourselves on an island. This is me, like, and this is how I am. You're right, a feedback loop.
Yeah.
And when you start to take into account that your energy interacts with other auras, then you go, oh, okay, well, what else do I need to do in order to manage my energy well and actually evolve and have these interactions with others that are fulfilling for both? And so when you have human design, you bring all of those 4 ancient systems together. You have the 2 dates that come together, and then you have human design as a system itself that has its own context and language. And so I remind people very often that it's not a belief system. You're not meant to believe it. You're not meant to have some kind of underlying trust that this is how it is. It's an experiment. And so you show up with the human design system and you take what resonates, leave alone what doesn't. It's not meant to be a cult or anything along those lines. But I tell people it's a context and it's a language. We don't really have a great language to describe energy. And so let us speak on, I'll tell you what I know and you tell me if that lands for you. And now we have these commonalities where we can describe the energy that you're feeling and help you make more aligned decisions and protect your aura. So here's my spiel.
Because yeah, I love that because thank you for sharing that because we tend to put ourselves in these silos. People it's like a person just describes themselves based on their zodiac, their astral, and they're just like, well, that's me. I'm so a Gemini. And it's sort of this self-fulfilling thing that happens. And I've always intuitively known there's got to be more to this because there's an interactional element that we're leaving out, right? Like you're talking about. So that's so interesting. I want to ask you, what does that look like when you're sitting down with somebody? Sort of, what does that look like? How do you create that picture?
So in human design, like we said, it's a rabbit hole to end all rabbit holes. There's so much data, so much information, so many things that you can just really just dig into and not actually go anywhere. So the reminder is the only thing to do with or about your design is strategy and authority. So strategy is going to describe how you use the aura that you have. And we have 4 different aura shapes in human design. And so once you understand which aura shape you have, it's not your personality, it's just how your energy moves, right? It's just an energy pattern that you walk around with all the time. Once you understand this aura shape that you have, you go, okay, well, how do I manage this aura and protect it? That's what your strategy is in human design. It tells you every day, this is how to manage your aura and your energy and protect it. And now that you understand this pattern that you're walking around with, this auric pattern, when something comes into your aura, okay, this is when we bring in the other. When something comes into your aura, an environment, a transit, a person, an opportunity, doesn't matter. When something comes in and you're aware of it, your authority in human design tells you what is correct for you and what isn't. So it almost gives you like this filter that you didn't have before. And you're walking around, you're bumping into all of these things. You go straight to your mind and go, what's the right thing to do? What's the best thing to do? What's good, right? What should I do? What can I do to make sure everyone else approves of me all the time, right? And you get into these vicious mental cycles. And so human design authority kind of brings it, depending on your own authority. We have 9 different options. It brings it back into your body and helps you make an embodied decision before you move up to the mind and start to make up stories, right? Because your mind, it wants to keep you safe. And so it'll tell you the story and it'll take you down that neural pathway that is the safest, right? That is the farthest away from stepping out of your comfort zone. But your body will tell you where it wants to go. If you're a generator, manifesting generator, your body's going to tell you what is going to be satisfying for you. Your mind won't bring you in the direction of satisfaction. Your mind will bring you in the direction of frustration. If you're a projector, your body's going to bring you in the direction of success. If you're a manifestor, your body's going to bring you in the direction of peace. And if you're a reflector in human design, your body's going to bring you in the direction of something surprising, right? Something completely unexpected, but delightful anyway. And so when you go to your mind, you pull in too much that isn't you, because you're observing, right? And you're trying to rationalize everything that comes in from the outside. And when you're able to move that energy based on strategy and authority in human design, then you kind of go through life with a little bit more ease and a lot less overthinking things, because overthinking is what gets us into these modes of depression and anxiety and addiction, because it's like, there's too much, especially in 2024. There's too much information. There's too much inspiration. There's too many perspectives to take on, and you just can't figure out which one is right. And so human design goes, hey, cool. Yes, you have a brain, you have a mind, you have perspectives, and that does exist, and that's great. And here's the place for that. And over here is the place for how you make decisions on a day-to-day basis.
So could you kind of walk us through, because I really feel like that's true. Like, we're inundated with information. There's so much going on all the time. And like, could you give us some examples of using your strategy and authority to make business decisions and helping you on your career path? Like, what are some things people can put into practice that will help them get out of their mind and into their actual authority? And could you break down authority a little bit for our listeners who are not familiar?
Yes. So in human design, we have 9 energy centers. Okay. So if you look at this body graph, it looks like a map, and there's all of these different shapes in it. And based on your moment of birth and that design date, when we put those two together, some of the energy centers get colored in and some don't. In the case of a reflector, none get colored in, right? And so depending on what's colored in your chart, that's going to tell you what's consistent for you. That's going to tell you who you are. That's going to tell you what your energy does and what your energy does in the context of others, right? And so there is this flow of energy. It's called the hierarchy of authority. If you have the first energy center in the hierarchy colored in, that's your authority. Like, that is your team leader, right?
I never knew that.
Yeah. If you don't have that, you move over to the next one. Okay. So the first one is the solar plexus. So if you're looking at a human design chart, it's on the bottom right. It's a little triangle type shape. It's called the solar plexus. If you have that colored in, you're emotional authority. Everyone who has that colored in has to be emotional authority. If you don't have that colored in, you move over to the next one. That's the sacral center. And so this is why we have 70% of people being generator or manifesting generator. Their authority is going to be sacral or emotional. If they have either of those two colored in, you're a manifesting generator and or emotional authority. If you don't have that, no longer can you be a generator or manifesting generator. You move over to the other energy center, the spleen. Now you become either projector or manifestor type, right? So we have this whole flow of energy. There we go. I could also share my screen. We have this whole flow of energy, but the interesting thing about this energy flow is that the one at the very top and the one at the very bottom are not included in this hierarchy, meaning no one is meant to make decisions under pressure. If you feel pressure, like I'm so behind, I'm a procrastinator, I'm not moving anything forward in my life, that's not the space from which to make a decision. If you feel this mental pressure, like nothing's inspiring, I don't know the right thing to do, I don't have the answer, who has the answer and where can I find them? That's not the space from which to make a decision. And so I always remind people what's colored in your chart, this is what we can trust. This is consistent for you. This is what you can rely on. And if it's not colored in your chart, you need to kind of say, go away, go away. And this is not the space from which I make decisions. Let it rest, right? Don't actually take any action from the narratives that come up, because they'll come up all over the place. And so once you have that understanding, your authority is going to be colored in your chart, right? And if you think of all of the energy centers that you have colored in and not as a team, the ones that are not colored in, they're going to be on the bench, okay? They transition in and out, but they're inconsistent. They're not the best players that you have on the team. And then you have your team, the ones that are colored in, they are consistent. They're always on the field, but there's one that's the best. There's the one that we check in with when we're going to make a play, right? That's the authority in your chart,
the
right?
Tom Brady.
Exactly.
Yeah.
I'm not a big sports person, but my oldest son is. He's into soccer, and so we're always Messi and Ronaldo. But yes, there's one that you can check in with, right? Like you're Messi or you're Tom Brady or Travis Kelce even. So for me in my chart, I only have 2 centers colored in, right? I have a small team, but efficient nonetheless, right? So there's one that's the authority. This is how I make decisions. And then there's one that's really consistent. I'm splenic authority, and I have a defined root.
The spleen?
The spleen, yeah. And the spleen is an awareness center. It tells us what's good, safe, and healthy for us. And so for me, I wait for an invitation. And when an invitation comes in, typically my embodied sense is this going to be good for my well-being? That's just the main awareness that I bring into mind. Is this going to be good for my health and well-being? And a lot of times I can't move forward on things if it requires me to sacrifice my safety, my health, or well-being, which seems like a no-brainer for most, but that's not everyone's authority, right? That's not everyone's number one priority, but has become mine more and more as I've lived according to my design and experimented with it. So I have one motor, it's the root, which helps me move things forward. And then I have the spleen, helps me move things forward in healthy ways. All of those other 7 energy centers that I have undefined, they chip in. I mean, they pipe in all the time. They're trying to tell me all kinds of things, and they really want to press on your not enoughness. They say someone out there has that and you don't. Why don't you have that? Why don't you go get it, right? So my sacral center, which I have undefined as a projector, any projector, manifestor, or reflector is going to have that square that is second from the top, the sacral. They're going to have that not colored in.
Do you have a chart that you could pull up on your screen, that you can screen share?
Yeah, I'll pull up
so
my website.
Who are watching on YouTube,
cool. I am wrapped. I am just like,
it's so cool.
It is so cool. I was gonna ask something when she was. Oh, so when you were talking about, you said from a position of safety, like, so could that be like? Do you mean like, so, for instance, someone may say, "Hey, we need you to do a project, and you're going to be out all night, and you know that you need to sleep." Is that sort of what you mean when you say like it sometimes will cause you to, or from a position of safety?
Yeah, it's health, well-being, and safety, and it's also like what other opportunities might be available to me that I just don't know about yet. So where I see it most often, because I have my ego center fully open, right? And my ego center being fully open makes me feel like my worthiness might come from making promises to people. If I could prove to them that I'm trustworthy, if I can prove to them that I can keep all of these promises, if I can underpromise and overdeliver, if I can muster up all of my willpower and motivation, then they'll know, right? Then they'll be proud of me. And so my ego center will make me want to make these long-term promises to people, but it doesn't have the energy to back that up. And so a lot of times, like if someone wants me to make a long-term commitment, right? They're like, "Hey, can you do 6 months of coaching, for example?" I'll be like, "Ugh." Right? Like I describe it as a splenic being as body won't go. Like it sounds good, right? There's probably money involved. There's probably an opportunity. There's transformation, whatever it may be, and great opportunity for some, but not for me. Even if it sounds great and everything lines up, if my body won't go with me, then I just have this awareness that, hey, it sounds great and not right now. I can't commit to that right now. Body won't go is what people get used to me
I
saying
love that. Body won't go.
Body won't go.
Where does this resource from? Is this a resource that people can get to? What is this? This what I'm looking at.
This is the landing page of my website. And so the landing page of my
Okay,
website
which
is
is
going to show you the current transit. So all of those,
okay.
that column in pink, that tells you where all
Mhm.
of our planets and placements are right now for the collective. So once you start to
Okay.
understand a little
Wow.
bit more about your own design and understand a little bit more about gates, you can go, oh, okay, cool. I have that gate. Oh, and the whole collective is experiencing that gate right now. Maybe something that I carry around with me all the time is a little bit more relatable to most, or maybe people are having an experience that, I've had my whole life. There's that.
Okay.
And there's just the understanding that this transit impacts everyone and it also impacts you. So just like for me, I can glance at that and I can know how it lines up with my own chart and what's lighting up in my chart based on the transiting energy for everyone. But on the left
Nice.
side, that's where you enter in your information. And so anyone can put
Okay.
their birth
And we'll put
date.
the link in the description.
Feelgood Expert.
It sounds like a lot of what you're talking about somehow relates to working smarter, not harder.
Yes.
Could you kind of, I know like law of attraction and manifesting is like kind of, in the lexicon these days. How do you feel like you can use your human design to manifest more abundance in your life? Maybe it's like you want to start a business, it's more fulfilling, or like just make more money in your current job. Like what are some things people could do to align those two things so that they can get more for less, basically?
Yeah. I mean, I can go into a whole manifestation rabbit hole according to human design, but I will always pull people back in the direction of strategy, authority, and even your profile numbers, because that's super, super reliable. And so
Okay.
if you're a generator or a manifesting generator in human design, and that's 70% of the population, that's going to mean you have a defined sacral center, which let me see if I can land my little mouse on there. That one. Well, I have to go back over to my other screen.
I see. Oh, sick.
There it is.
Okay, so that's there.
I'm trying to like land my mouse, but also move my mouse back to where I can see you guys. The sacral center.
Oh yeah.
Okay. You're going to have that center colored in your chart. If you're a generator, manifesting generator, which means this energy that's in your body takes you in the direction of what's most satisfying to you. And if you don't have the energy to back up what's in front of you, you'll feel frustration. And it doesn't necessarily mean that as soon as you know this, everything for the rest of your life is always going to be satisfying. It means now you have a compass. You just know, right? So when you're at work, right?
Yeah.
You can start to like separate into piles the different things that you interact with in the day. Okay. This gives me energy from the inside out. This feels satisfying. This takes me in the direction of pleasure.
Oh.
And this I hate. I don't want to do this. I don't like this at all. This is draining my energy. And so now if you just have these two different piles that you can work from of satisfaction versus frustration, you stop blaming yourself. You stop making up stories about your energy and who you are and what you're doing. And you like, we just go crazy in our minds, making up things about our lived experience. And so when you have this compass now of satisfaction versus frustration, as a generator, manifesting generator, you now know, oh, yeah, I freaking hate doing paperwork. I have to do it. It's part of my job, but I don't like it. And just because it feels depleting doesn't mean I didn't get enough sleep, or I need another cup of coffee, or I need to, lose weight, or I need to go on a diet, or I need to go have a talk with my boss. It just means I don't like this. Like my body doesn't have the energy to back this up. Do I have to do it to keep my job? Yes. Okay, cool. So I'll just do it and I won't make up a story. And then there are things that you'll interact with in your day that are very pleasurable. And you go, I love this. I want more of this, right? And so when you just walk around with that awareness, now you are able to manifest more pleasurable experiences because you can discern what's pleasurable versus what's frustrating to you. Like it makes it so simple. And you'd be surprised once you start walking around with this awareness, how simple it is. Because before you had it, you would just go straight to your mind and you go, I'm a bad person.
Right.
Everything that I'm doing is wrong.
Yeah.
I need a new job. I need to move. It's my relationship. Everything is wrong with everyone, right?
Wow.
It's all outside of
Yes.
you, and anything outside of your body now becomes outside of your control. You really can't do anything about it. You can only do something about your own embodied experience. And so when you're a manifesting generator and you start to learn to just prioritize your own pleasure as often as you can, you just walk around with that awareness. I'm going to prioritize my pleasure. I'm going to see how I feel. Now you know where your energy is and you know where your energy isn't. And if you have to go somewhere where your energy isn't, you go, okay, well, I'm sacrificing a little bit of that sacral energy that I have. I don't like doing this, but I have to. But right after this, I'm going to go back to prioritizing my pleasure, because that's what my body tells me, and that's what actually gives me life force, right? That's what gives me energy. That's what makes me excited about life. And so with 70% of the people walking around on this planet with excitement and enthusiasm and sacral energy, if they're living according to their design, they're following their satisfaction around, right? They're following their pleasure around, which is great. And so the next most common type is called a projector. A projector doesn't have a defined sacral, which means a projector is really good at helping people with this influx of energy, manage it, make it more efficient, help you get from point A to point B really fast. And so projector has the most sensitive aura. We're absorbing, like we're just pulling in everybody's stuff all over the place. And we go, oh my God, what do I do with this? How do I focus it? And so projectors get themselves in trouble by offering unsolicited advice, right? They want you to be successful. They want to feel successful and helping you be successful, right? That's our compass. Success versus bitterness. And so we absorb all of this energy from the outside, and we focus on someone who isn't ready. They don't do anything with it. We feel like we've wasted our precious resource of energy, and we walk away bitter. Oh my gosh, like, why don't they listen to me? I really can feel it. I know what's best, right? And so waiting for the invitation for a projector, now you pull all of your energy back to you, this very precious resource, and you wait until someone observes you and says, hey, you seem to be really good at XYZ. Can you help me make my energy more efficient? Yes, I can. They're successful, you're successful. Everything feels better. But when you absorb all of this energy and you think it's your job to help everyone with everything, and you just really don't have that energy resource to back it up, then you get depleted, you get into bitterness. So those are the top two most common. And I can also talk about manifestors and reflectors, but I don't know if you guys have questions or need clarification on the first two.
Could you give us like just a general overview of what each aura type is here to do and how they become, I guess projectors thing is success, but what does each aura type have to contribute to the overall well-being of the planet, and how can we be more embodied in that?
Yeah, so we're all meant to work together. So we talked about manifesting generators and generators having this sacral energy, right? Really wanting to live a life of pleasure and enthusiasm and excitement. And they're waiting to respond to life. They're waiting for a person, place, or thing or opportunity to come into their aura so that they can check in with their gut. They really can't check in with their gut until something is right in front of them. That's a gut response.
Has to come in.
Right? Response not in words, response not in a whole thought process, response in how does my body feel? Am I filled with energy and enthusiasm and excitement, or do I feel depleted? And so when a generator is doing something that is very pleasurable to them, they have this beautiful life force energy and this super open and enveloping aura, and everybody wants to be around them, right? And we want to help them build the thing. We want to help them engage in these pleasurable things. And so a projector helps create these efficiencies with that energy. And a manifestor type in human design, which represents about 10% of people, manifestors are here to get things started. So they have a motor to throat connection, which means they have the energy to back up a manifestation or an initiation. Manifestors help us get things started. They get an impulse and they initiate, right? And so when they're out just doing their own thing, initiating us into these brand new things that have never been seen before, never been done before, it's a heavy cross to bear, but they can't not do it, right? They're just 200% in when an impulse comes in for them. And so a lot of times generators and projectors and reflectors will respond to what manifestors are doing or this brand new thing to get started. And so now we have these three working together, manifestors who are following their impulses and getting things started, right? Initiating us into brand new places we've never been before. Generators are like, yeah, I want that. I want to go with you, right? I'm right behind you. Projectors are like, okay, cool. Let me help you make it more efficient. I'm really good at managing energy and helping you, find the shortest distance between A and B, because that's what projectors are best at. We don't like to waste energy. And then reflectors come in with all of this openness, right? They're not attached. They're not attached to any specific outcome. They just come in and they just tell us how it's going. They go, okay, well, I see what you're doing here, right? Let me reflect to you how this feels. Let me be at the center of this
Oh,
community and reflect to you how all of this feels, because they don't have anything colored in their chart. That means they don't condition us. They don't come in and create new energy and now we all are a buzz again and we're starting over again. They come in and they go, hey, I'm not attached to any specific outcome. I don't care if it happens or it doesn't, but I can tell you how it's going. I can read the energy for you, right? Everyone else is attached to something. The projector wants it to be really efficient. The generator wants it to be really pleasurable or satisfying. The manifestor wants it to get started. They want it to go. The reflector is meant to come in with no desires, no wants, no needs, to be very surprised by what's there and just to give us a good reading of the energy. And so when you kind of look at life that way and you're like, you actually see that dynamic like play out all over the place. Like if you think about Amazon, for example, if a reflector were a part of that site, it would be the star ratings, right? And then all of these different creators, all of these different people who come in and provide their creations, right? That's generated energy. There's so much available there, right? Think about the manifestor, like who had the idea to start something like Amazon? Who had the idea to put something out there in the world that would allow us to come together and choose what we want on demand and have it dropped at our door? Like that didn't exist when I was a kid. That was initiated. And so a projector would be like, okay, well, let me be the search bar. Like, let me help you get to exactly what you want to get to really quickly and easily and efficiently. And then, of course, you've got the ratings to tell you, how do people feel about this? What's the energy of this item? Can I trust it? So it all
I love that.
That
It's
is
like
shows
so
up all over the
cool.
place.
it's total squad goals. So
Yeah.
it sounds like if you want a super group, you need to have one manifestor, one projector, one
Yeah.
reflector, you know. It sounds like you need to have that in a super group. So how do you leverage that? Like so knowing that not how so if I had a deeper knowledge of that, how would that help me arrange my super group? Like my team.
Yeah, so I mean, understanding yourself and your strengths is definitely a great place to start. So for me as a projector, I started off as a solopreneur. I'm like, well, this just has to happen. I just have to do it, right? And so I
Right.
was showing up to my own job that I created for myself, like wanting to have this system to help others manage their energy. And I realized there were a lot of mundane tasks that were very, very hard for me to complete, like just to muster up the energy and get it done.
Yes.
And at one point I
Yes.
was like, I am keeping myself from money. I'm keeping myself from making more money by holding myself up on this. And so I was like, I have to
I'm the
hire
problem, it's
someone.
me.
It's me.
Yeah.
I have to hire someone who's like excited to get this done. And I did. I hired a project manager, and according to her design, she's
Awesome.
really excited to like organize tasks and to prioritize things and to manage resources like that. She's a manifesting generator, and those are her two channels. That's what she does really, really well. And she did it really,
I
really
love
well,
that.
right? And she brought in a virtual assistant who could also go and repurpose my content for me. I just didn't have the energy to do either of those things. Neither of those things were my strengths. And so as a projector, bringing into manifesting generators into my auric field, like propelled my business in a direction. I told myself the story, I don't have the money to hire a whole team, but it was the team that brought more money, right? And so when I get to a point in my business where I'm like, I need someone to come in and check in on all of the things, right? If I want to get something new started, I might bring in a manifestor to give me some kind of feedback. If I want to keep what I have and make it very user friendly, right? Think about like UGC and things that people want to engage with and interact with. I might bring in a reflector and be like, hey, what do you think? Like, how does it feel for you when you engage with my content? I'm not there yet, to hire a whole team of 5-6 people, but if I were to, right, I look at that. I look at the energy type, of course, but I also look at the channels that they have. So do they have the specific strength for the thing that I need to get done? And it's really interesting that is what comes in without my
Hmm.
knowledge, right? Like I'll put out the manifestation
Oh,
or the
you have
intention.
the intention.
Put out the intention.
Yeah.
This is what I need. Like last year, I need like someone who's
Mm.
really good at marketing, someone's really good at messaging, and that channel of surrender, it's 26 to 44. Brilliant. Like they don't even know how good they are. They think it's everybody has that and they don't, right? They just know how to craft a message. And so my project manager and I brought in someone who has a really strong marketing channel and had a whole business on marketing. And the three of us created this holistic thing. And when we put the three charts together, we kind of saw like, oh my gosh, we have everything that we need
Wow.
to move this specific project forward. Different projects, different needs, right? But you can start to look
Right.
at the more detailed parts of the chart.
Well,
And again, it's language and it's context, right? When we're just starting out, we don't know
right.
how to describe who we are or what we need or what we're missing. So when you look at a chart and you go,
Right.
okay, that's available. It's available to me even, right? Even if it's not colored in, I can manifest it. I can make it happen. But the point is I won't shame
Right.
myself if I'm not consistent about it. I'll be surprised when it shows up and I'll be like, this is great. I love it. But then I won't be mad when it goes away, right? I won't be disappointed because I'm not attached to it. I go, oh, okay, this is
Mm.
energy I get to
Wow.
play with in this lifetime. But this is not my specific strength.
What I
Mm.
hear you saying a lot and what I've encountered so much, it's like we blame ourselves for the things that we don't have and the things that we see ourselves as lacking. And I believe that's probably one of the biggest impediments, like you said, to being a successful entrepreneur is like trying to force yourself into being good at all of these things and buying into this belief that I don't have the money. But really, it's how much time and frustration and beating yourself up are you willing to put into this venture before you realize, like, I need other people? And so you mentioned something about channels. And I guess what I'm interested in is, like, how can people use their human design, like maybe their channels, to realize their own inherent self-worth and accept that they weren't meant to do everything. So instead of beating themselves up, they're able to set that intention to create the connections that will help them thrive.
I
Like,
love that question. I
what are
like that
some,
question.
yeah, insights you have about that, your experiences in it yourself? Because I think that's fascinating.
It is. A lot of times I'll give people, like when I do readings or when I happen to chat with people on lives, I'll give them mantras. And so when these things come up in your awareness of what I don't have or where I'm not enough, then you can turn
Yeah.
back to your definition, anything that's colored in your chart. And so my mantra for myself, having a defined root and spleen, I move things forward in healthy ways, right? And so anytime I feel like I'm supposed to be more productive or I'm supposed to be more excited or enthusiastic about something in my sacral center that's undefined, I go, oh, that's not me. Excitement comes and
Huh.
goes as it pleases, right? But that's not my consistent. And so when I'm mad about
And
that,
that's okay.
that's okay. When I get mad about that and I want to tell a
Yeah.
story about that, I go, well, I do move things forward in healthy ways, right? You guys heard me at the outset
Oh,
say, like, it
yeah.
took me an entire year. I created every single variation. It wasn't a burst of energy and it all got done in a day. It was moving things
Right.
forward in healthy ways the best way that I could to get this information out there, right? As a projector and efficiently and in the system, right? I move things forward in healthy ways. So when I think I'm not enough, when I think I, need to underpromise and overdeliver, when I think I'm not thorough enough, when I think I don't know where I'm going in life, when I'm not manifesting enough, when my perspective
Yeah.
is wrong, or when, I need a coach or a mentor, I need something inspiring, I need another book, I need more information. Whenever that comes in again, then I go, well, that's okay. I move things forward in healthy ways, like nothing to
That's
do.
so good.
Anytime a narrative comes up that is closely, and I describe all of the energy centers all over the place. I have blogs and I have playlists about it. But anytime a
Yeah.
narrative comes up that is closely related to the theme of that energy center that you have undefined, you go, okay, thank you. Nothing to do. This is not the space from
Yeah.
which I take action. I take action from my definition. And so a lot of times reflectors will get mad at me. They're like, well, am I here to do nothing? Like, what do I do? I don't have. Reflectors are here to be surprised and delighted by life, right? And so you find your energy anchors by becoming this master energy reader. It's a lot of us are envious of that, right? The founder of human design, Ruhu, said, if I could reincarnate, I would come back empty. That's your greatest
Really?
source for abundance. And so we should look at the energy centers that are not defined as something wrong or something bad, but we have to be able to gauge that energy and not stay in the negative of it, and to go, okay, nothing to do. And when you throw your hands up, you go, nothing to do, now you're open to surprise, you're open to manifestations coming in, you're open to abundance, because you're not tied. A lot of times you're tying yourself to what someone else did or does, and you're comparing. Right. And when you stop doing that, then whatever shows up becomes very surprising, and it becomes a lot more fun and easy and natural than trying to constantly like tap from an empty source, basically. It's just not always on.
What I hear you saying is, first of all, you never make decisions from your mind or from a place of, I don't have enough time, I have to figure this out now. And then you can use your centers and your definition almost as anchors. So you're like you said, when you started comparing yourself to what everybody else could do, and you're like, I have to be more inspired, get another coach, get another book. You're like, no, I move things forward in healthy ways. And the way you discovered that was based on your definition. You're like, okay, this is me. I have this strength. Yes. So whenever I'm going off here, I can just say that you can accept it and then come back to yourself.
Right. And almost. So, it's your channels that define your energy centers. And so anytime you find energy centers colored in, you'll see that channel in between. There's 36 different channels, and so they all have their own theme and function. But in general, they're going to carry that theme of the two larger energy centers. So you don't even have to go down the rabbit hole of understanding every single channel and what it does and how it talks and all the things. You understand the larger theme, and then you'll understand the smaller one. So like mine, that ties my root to my spleen, as the channel of struggle. And that sounds horrible. I was really mad about that for several years. But it is about moving things forward in healthy ways. It's about understanding how much time you have, and what is the meaning of what you're doing with your energy, right? So using your time with purpose, moving things forward in healthy ways, right? There's two other channels that do similar, but in different ways. One does it for the tribe or the community, and one does it for the collective. Mine does it for me. For me to have my own purpose in life. And so you start to understand, and this is why I have this course, and I call it the easiest way to learn human design ever created, because the information is layered. Ooh. And if you take something out of context, you go, okay, this has to mean something, and you don't understand the layers underneath it, then you just get confused, overwhelmed again, and you go right back into your mind, what does it mean? And what do I do? And what am I doing wrong? And
and then
it always comes back to that.
Which is not great at all.
Yes, you'll see me bring people back to the largest theme that I can, because that's how you understand the underlying layers. You won't understand the channel unless you understand the two energy centers that it's tied to. And so understanding those bigger themes, your definition is super, super helpful. This is where you can create mantras. This is where you can bring into awareness your not self, as I call it in human design. And if you have something colored in your chart and you go, I don't know if that's consistent for me, then you start to ask the question around conditioning. Was there a point in my life where someone told me my natural way of being was not the right way to be? And so now I've been fighting this battle my whole life, trying to not be how I naturally am, right? And so understanding those energy dynamics and how everything flows and moves through the chart all the time for everyone, right? You start to go, oh, okay. I was fed a lie. I was fed a lie my whole life that I was supposed to be everything to everyone all of the time, and that I could do anything. I can, but not every minute of every day. There has to be a filter for making decisions. There has to be a filter for being able to organize things and put them in order, and to use my energy the way that feels right, that feels correct for me in my body. And so that's what it gives us. Human design gives us something to focus on when we live in a world of unlimited information, right? Ever expanding universe of everything is available all the time. What do I do?
Right. Did you, so the whole time that you've been talking about this, the framework of human design, I got divorced a couple of years ago after being married for over a decade. And I remember when that happened, I got really back into my mental health grounding and started to look at attachment styles. And once I realized attachment styles, that I just really didn't have the language. I wasn't using that language to describe our dynamic. And I was looking at our relationship a lot different now, whereas before I was relying on like these popular terms and saying, oh, he must be a covert narc or something. I realized he was just avoidant, right? And that he just wasn't, so he wasn't going to ever meet my anxiously attached needs that I had. And so I'm wondering, like, with regards to love and relationships, like, do you, now that you have this human design lens, do you often look back at your previous relationships, or do you just kind of look at, the opposite sex in your case that way when you're,
Yeah.
how does that
I
play out?
mean, I have a lot to say about that. First of all, in human design, we have connection charts. And so you put
Okay.
these two charts together and you get a reading of the aura of two or more people. But I mean, if
That's
you're in a
awesome.
relationship, you can get this reading of how the aura interacts. And so it's
Mhm.
even more specific. It gives you language for the energy dynamics. It gives you language of
Mhm.
what might be a challenge, of what is a basis for friendship, of what gives you chemistry, right? It gives you these different categories and these different
Mhm.
languages that you can use. And it also takes away the expectation now. Once you have the language to describe, you stop trying to change the other person to meet your needs. You go, oh,
Mhm.
the energy isn't there. It isn't consistent. I'm not
Right.
meant to rely on
Yeah.
this person for this thing. It'll come and go. It'll surprise us. It'll be fun when it's there. But if I try to make it be every single day, then I'm just going to end up in my own not self theme. And so when you start to look at those
Wow.
categories, you go, oh, that is the reason that we became friends, right? We were able to talk, right? I had a level of communication with this person that I don't have with anyone else. And you'll see the throat connection between you and that person. And it's like, whoa, right? You'll have chemistry,
Mm.
right? And you can figure out if the chemistry is mental or if it was in your body, right? Something lit up that wasn't there before. You'll
I
have
love
places
that.
where you have to compromise, right? And you're like, I thought I knew everything, but this person just walks around with that energy. And now I need to kind of concede to, like, this person is living with this dynamic that I thought I knew a lot about, right? And then you have dominance, where
Mm.
one person has a whole channel and one person has none of it. And you go, okay, I am amplifying their energy and trying to make it my own. And I need to, like, release that and let them be how they are and let me be how I am, right? And stop blaming them for the energy that I'm actually creating and they're amplifying. So that's super interesting. It's called a connection chart. I do connection readings, but on my website also, if you're curious, you want to know what it looks like, not all human design websites have that for free. So you pull your chart at the very top, it says relationship chart. You click it, type in the second person's info, and then you get this energy dynamic. Again, you have to have
Oh,
some
I'm gonna do
foundation
that
of
right
human
after this.
design. I know, it's really fun.
Okay, about this relationship chart, I heard that you could do it for business too.
Yes.
Like, will you type in like the day you came up with the business idea? Like, could
Okay.
you do that? How would that work?
Yeah, so a couple of things. Like in human design, we have something called BG5 that is coming
so
from the
interesting.
International Human Design Institute. And so, like, you can put team members together and see energy dynamics for more than, or you can put a family together. That's called Penta, right? Like 3 to 5 people, and see what's there and what isn't. There's that. But then there's also, like, if you wanted to pull a natal chart for your business, yes, you can. And I have, right? Like, the first TikTok that I posted, I had the exact day and time. And so I use that to, like, pull the energy of the business. And it really is so helpful, especially as a projector, to go, okay, this is who I am. I'm, little introverted, like, hermit person that just does my own thing and learns my own life lessons. And this is what my business is. And it's a whole separate entity for me. And this is what my business wants to evolve into and create. And it's different. Wow. And so I can tap into that energy, and I know what that energy is. And I also get to be myself. I don't have to, like, abandon or sacrifice myself to the whole business. I get to now be a team member in my own business. So there's that. And then, like, as far as energy dynamics go for just the types overall, it might be easier to land in if you're brand new to human design. when I was in my not self as a projector, and so I've mentioned I have a lot of my chart that's not colored in, like 7 of 9 centers are not colored in. When I was in my not self or my not enoughness, I attracted manifesting generators like nobody's business, because for sure they're going to have a defined sacral and for sure they're going to have a defined throat, right? And I don't have either of those. And so I was like, I need that energy, like pull more energy toward me. I want to amplify that energy. I want to feel that like sacral. I want to be productive. I want to be
That
excited. I
makes
want
so
to
much
manifest
sense.
everything. And so I'd pull in people with a lot more definition than me, so that I could,
Yeah.
like, almost like an energy vampire, right? Like to suck in that energy and
Yeah.
amplify it. And as soon as I started to experiment with my own design and come like more into myself and like just kind of chill
Yeah.
out a little bit more, like that's what I'm meant to be. I'm very, very open. And just to let
Mhm.
that exist, now I attract projectors like left and right. They just always projectors are coming
Yep.
in because like that's the wavelength that I'm
You're
on. And so depending on what types you're interacting with, and maybe it's all of them, maybe it's a specific one, now you know how to, first of all, ask for what you need, right? As a projector, I need
Mhm.
invitations. And you also know how to speak to their listening. And so not only am I wanting invitations and I can ask for invitations, I can invite others, obviously. But if I'm with a generator, a manifesting generator, I can also give them things to respond to, right? I can make things simpler. I can make it easier for them to check in with their gut when I'm giving them options. And I have 2 kids. I have a manifesting generator and a manifestor, right? My manifestor son, their strategy is to inform. So I know I can make objective statements to them. I can just keep him in the loop. And he gets much less angry when I can speak to his listening, right? And so now you're able to work with all
Wow.
these energy dynamics relationally. And you start to see, because you're being focused and strategic about the way that you're communicating with people, and it lands for them, right? Make sure it does land for
Mhm.
them. And it lands for them, then you go, oh, okay, right? I was so confused and everything was so hairy and there was just too much and I didn't know what to do. But now that I understand the energy dynamics, I just know exactly what to do and I do it consistently. And now there's a certain level of safety in that relationship because I'm safe, because I'm consistent and I like who I am. And they feel safe because I can speak to their listening and I allow them to be who they need to be or who they are. And no longer is it this like weird muddy puddle of like, well, who are we together? I don't know, right? I do know.
I love that idea. Right. I love that idea of
So are
speaking to
you
listening.
saying that you can use the other person's strategy on them? Like how as projectors, we want invitations. You could invite others. And then you said your manifestor's son is to inform. So you'll inform him
Mhm.
and they're able to receive that information better.
Yeah. Well, and think about social media, right? I know that 70% of people are generators and manifesting generators. And so I get to choose, do I want to go in with my natural energy and create and receive invitations, or do I want to make sure that I have a certain level of excitement and enthusiasm? Do I want to make sure that I'm giving them something to respond to when I show up? Right? What audience do I want to attract? And that's your choice, right? That doesn't mean
So
you need to change who you are in order to attract the largest audience. It means, now you're at least conscious of it. Because if you show up with energy and excitement and enthusiasm, right, as a projector, and you get a really good response, you go, oh God, now I have to do this all the time. And instead of that, you go, oh, well, I got a larger response because it was catered to the largest audience. But the audience I'm looking for now wants a system, right? They want my projector energy. So that's what I can do consistently. But nonetheless, you just start to be able to see. And I mean, it was the trippiest thing I've ever seen in my life, because I don't control the algorithm of any social media platform, right? But I created series of all of the different types and all of the different energy centers on TikTok, and I did them very strategically and categorically. And you can still go look now. All of my generator and manifesting generators have the most views, the highest percentage of views. Projectors, it lines up around like 20-30%. It's a little higher for me because I'm a projector and projectors like me. Manifestors have a much lower number of views. Reflectors always have the least number of views. It's still to this day exactly like that in multiple series. Every time I do a series about all 5 types, the highest number of views is generator.
Follows the ratio.
Like I'm not controlling that, right? That's just out in the ethers, and the whole algorithm is at stake. But it's what happens, and it is the energy that we walk around with. And yeah, it's pretty.
It's
It
your
was
own
pretty
like
trippy to
research
me,
study right there. You can see the
right?
numbers.
It's an experiment, and the more I experiment, the more I'm like, well, damn,
It's legit.
might be
This
something
is
to
some real
this.
stuff. Yeah, you might be onto something. Oh, that's so
Amy,
cool. So
we might be.
I am obsessed with you now. How do I get access to
Yeah.
you? Like, how do I get
Likewise.
access to you? And tell me,
Give
like,
us all the
yeah,
things.
yeah, tell us how we can reach you and how others can reach you and sort of what you can do for them.
Yeah. So, reminder, I'm a projector in human design, so I'm waiting for invitations. My handle
Yay.
is at the Feelgood Expert on all platforms. And so I have to remind everyone all of the time because it's getting really weird out there. Could scammers be scamming? I am at
Mm-hmm.
Feelgood Expert and I will not DM you. And I know that that
Mm-hmm.
is the
Right.
same of all of
Yes.
my fellow content creators.
So
They
that's
will
great.
not reach out. Grand rising, beautiful soul. I have a message from your ancestors. That's not me. Okay. But you can DM me. I like it. I'm waiting for invitations at the Feelgood Expert. So I'm on TikTok. That's my largest audience. I'm on YouTube, which I'm
Yay.
transitioning to creating longer form content there. I'm on
Oh,
Instagram, both business and personal. And I'm on Pinterest and Threads. So you can find me. You can find me
I'm
everywhere. I'm at the
following
Feelgood
you.
Expert, and that's the same as my website, the Feelgood. If you're brand new to human design, I mean, I literally tell people this every day. Take advantage of the free resource. Like, don't pay anybody anything.
Yes.
I worked hard on this, and I am 6 years into this experiment myself, right? And I talk about this and I teach this every day. It's exactly what I would tell you about. You were right in front of me. It is a free mini reading. So you put your information in my website, thefeelgoodexpert.com. And then every single one of those chart properties that's highlighted in pink, it's pink and it has an underline. When you click it, it takes you to a 1 to 3 minute video. So 15 to 20 minutes, if you watch all of them, that is your foundational human design reading. Literally don't pay anybody anything until you do that. It's an excellent free resource. I've got nothing but great feedback on it. And like I said, it took me a long time. So there's that. If you watch
Amazing.
that, you like me, you like the way that I talk, I have a personalized report. It's in the $20 range. Most of them are like 50 to 100, but it's heavy on strategy and authority. That's what I tell people
Yeah.
all of the time. Go back to the basics, make it easier on yourself, give yourself less to think about, less to do. So it has journaling prompts, it has affirmations, it has your strengths and awarenesses, right? It just really starts out telling you how to manage all this energy. And then, of course, I have all of the other chart properties written out for you so that you have something to refer back to, but heavy on strategy and authority, $27. And then if you wanted to be a reader, if you wanted to use human design behind the scenes in your own business or just for your own information, I have the easiest way to learn human design ever created. It's called the Human Design Starter Kit. So I very strategically, as a projector, right? I love systems and strategies. I laid it out so that the information is buildable. You learn something that you need to know. You learn the foundation that you need to know, and then you add to it and you add to it and you add to it until you're all the way through all of the gates and all of the channels. And now but you can't get to a gate unless you know what energy center that gate's in, right? You just don't even know what it is. It doesn't make sense out of context. So that's only $44 a month. I have not seen another human design program or resource that is less than that. You can pay for the whole year in advance for an additional discount. And like I said, what I wish I had, I wish I could have, instead of just like dumping money into the system. I wish I could have found someone that would that would answer questions for me live, right? That would be able to show me the whole framework of the thing, right? To give me the bigger picture so that I could learn more efficiently. So I have all of those things. And then I do offer one-on-one readings. So if you've taken advantage of all the resources or you've been in the human design world for a little bit and you want to go a little bit deeper, or if you're an entrepreneur and you want a specific strategy, I can line up all of those gates and channels and tell you, right? This is just giving you validation and permission. I'll tell you, this is what has been happening. This is what you always talk about that you didn't know, right? Go ask anybody. Go ask any of your friends. Go ask anybody in your family. This is what you always talk about, right? This is what you value. This is how you see yourself. This is how others see you. I can give you those touch points. Now you have something to focus on and you don't question yourself every single day when you wake up and go, what am I doing? Right? What am I supposed to say and how am I supposed to say it? Human design will give you that whole strategy. And also, your overarching purpose, this impact that you have on others when they cross your path. It's called the incarnation cross. But again, you need some foundation of the energy centers and the channels and the gates to understand what the incarnation cross actually does. So if you want to go deeper, right? If you're like, Tangi, just read me for filth, like I'll do that in a reading. But I always tell people, take advantage of like the freest, cheapest resources that you can to get started, because I'm close to 10 grand, right? Not including like all of the money that I've put into just growing a business, just on taking courses and buying books. in human design. There
Wow.
is so
Yeah.
much. There's
Yep.
so much. It's
So much.
the rabbit hole that never ever ever ends. So take
Oh,
advantage of, I like to call myself human design kindergarten. If you're new here, if human design is new to you and you're like, I want to start, right? I want to know what this is about. Like I want to go somewhere with it. Hang out with me for a little bit and then you'll find
you
all
all
of these
day.
other doors opening for you. And I'm not attached, right? I'm like, yes,
100%.
please go in the direction of your greatest pleasure and satisfaction and purpose and drive and energy. Go there. But you
I love
need,
that.
Yeah.
I'm very good at foundations. Like I know that.
Yeah.
And I'm friends with everyone in the industry, right? We all know that that Tangi is human design kindergarten, and I like it, right? I don't have any desire, need or drive to go beyond that right now, but I have friends who do other things that are amazing. So if you're looking for something that is a little different than what I offer, again, waiting for invitations, I'll never take offense. I'll go, oh, I know exactly what that is, and my friend does this really well. Like we said at the outset, oh, my friend made that
Right.
Yeah.
that Oracle
Yeah.
deck. She sent it to me first. She wanted to get some feedback, right? And I'm like,
Wow.
cool. So
Wow.
again, like this is an excellent place to start, to get your foundations, to get your grounding, and to start your experiment. And it takes, you guys probably know this already and probably have talked about it. It takes 7 years for full cell turnover, right? So you're experimenting for
Yeah.
7 years,
I've heard
like
that
just
before.
showing up in your energy, showing up in your natural awareness, bringing in things and letting go of things. Now, after 7 years of this experiment, you have this context and this language to describe energy, and you can go forth into the world, like really having a more deep and thorough understanding of what the hell we're doing here.
It really does.
So Tangi, the Feelgood expert, I
Feelgood
caught
expert.
myself in this meta moment of like either mindfulness or mindlessness, because I pulled up your TikTok and you were talking, and suddenly I was like, I want to like all of these series. I was just like, I'm ready to start binging. You are amazing.
Thank you.
So yeah, the body graph. It's just you're amazing. This stuff is
Thank you.
so interesting.
Yeah,
Yeah.
so
So
when you see the
it's so good.
series and you want to binge, just reminder,
Okay.
the website is what organizes it for you.
Okay, the
It
website.
takes,
Okay, so
it's
I'll
all those same videos and it
Okay.
takes the ones that apply to you specifically and it puts them in order.
I'll start at the
My brain did that
feelgoodexpert.com.
somehow.
Yeah,
It's
I don't
remarkable,
know how you
really.
did that. I'm the exact opposite. Like
No.
I just have
It's
tons
crazy.
of ideas. Like
I don't know how I
my
did it
TikTok
either.
is like a junk drawer of ideas. But yeah, that's
But
amazing.
you did.
Yeah.
Human design. I
It's
knew my design. I knew I was a projector
amazing.
and I knew I needed to create a system. And so I was like, systemize all.
Right.
And this is what protects my energy also, right? So I have this resource that is like almost like a barrier to entry to a one-on-one interaction with me.
Oh, I love
Not in a
that.
bad way. It lets you check in with your authority, like get to know me, get to know how I talk and the way that I say things. And if you hate me, cool, go anywhere else. I don't mind at all, right? If you like the way that I talk and this resonates for you, okay, now you have a foundation. And when you work with me one-on-one, you can get so much more out of it because you have a foundation already.
For sure.
I'm not having to reinvent the wheel. I'm not have to repeat myself, right? Because it takes energy from me to say the same thing over and over again. So I'm like, cool, that's there.
Right.
And now you can have you can see me and you have a reason to invite me.
that.
So everything is very strategically set up. And this is what I help entrepreneurs do, setting up their business strategically in a systematized way that protects their energy and like really amplifies their strengths.
That's so empowering because you know that you need to have that barrier, that firewall. And so because you know that, like,
So smart.
I might think of that as like a weak point. You know what I mean? If I didn't know that about my design, but because you know that, you're like, okay, this is what I'm building in. And it's so empowering. There's so many things like that. Like, we really need you.
Yeah.
I'm here for it.
I know.
Yes.
I can't wait to do a reading with you. I'm so excited.
Me too. I'm excited. This has been such an enlightening talk. I want to thank you for doing the work that you've done. I mean, it just shows, and I just feel like I want to know more. So yeah, I'm really, really excited.
Ask me anything. I'm waiting for invitations, and for anyone listening, like I really don't I see myself among just like everybody else, basically, right? Like I don't see myself as this influencer, this person that's far away. And you were saying before we hit record, like more like mom or big sister, depending on how old you are.
Yeah.
Don't be afraid to send me a DM, especially if you want to be friends on my personal Instagram. Instagram, you can send audio notes, you can send screenshots. If you have questions and I have the energy to answer it, I will. And if I don't, I'll tell you, hey, this is where you can actually go get that answer. So yeah.
Thank
Let's
you,
be
Tangi.
besties.
You're amazing. I just feel so
I'm
glad and
honored. Yeah.
delighted I came across you. It just, I don't know, it all hits. And just seeing a projector like in her power who's made this system is like so
Yes.
inspiring and like validating for me. I'm like, oh, look at that. Like,
Yeah.
you could do it like this. It makes so much sense to me. Like, I love it.
Yeah, and I mean
love
that's
it.
how we ended up talking, right? You just kind of reached out, and I was like, "Well,
Yep.
let me just tell you how it is."
Oh
right?
no, I blew Tangi up. Like I sent her, like I'm in her live. I'm like, but what do I do with this? Like, how does this work? And she's like
You're
answering me.
heckling poor
She's like,
Tangi.
right. She's like, do you need to message me on Instagram? I'm like, yes,
Yeah.
I do.
Just reach out, ask me
Maybe
anything.
It was great.
And I'm always learning from these interactions too, right? People are afraid to reach out to me, and you'd be surprised. It doesn't happen too often. I mean, it happens daily, but I'm not inundated. And if I were, I would just set up another, automation to help people move that energy to where it needs to go.
Yeah.
But I learn from these interactions, and I get to see more charts, and I get to like kind of hear your own experience, and that deepens my knowledge. So don't ever feel like you're bothering me.
Oh, thank you so much. I am in just such a space of appreciation. Thank you. I'm
Yeah,
definitely going to reach out
likewise.
to you.
Thanks for
Yeah,
having
thank you.
me. This is really fun.
Thanks.
And it's fun to
Yeah,
have,
it was fun.
I'm usually one-on-one with podcast hosts, so it's fun to have like this group dynamic. I like it.
Yeah, I enjoyed this
So
too.
we've got two projectors, a Manny Jen here, Oliver, and then our producer's a generator who's also kind of helped me with some other stuff. So we just need a reflector and we're there.
And then we're the Beatles. We've got our super group.
Yeah, right? We can do anything.
Right. Thank you,
We need a
Tangi.
manifestor.
Right. That's true.
Yeah,
Don't leave them out. They're
Yes,
important.
yeah.
They're important. It just shows the important everybody's got their role. And when we come together, so much more is possible. And I just love that. I love it.
Yay. Happy music. Dun, dun, dun. Like, oh, Stephanie looks like she's coming in.
Exactly.
How
thank you guys so much for joining us, Tangi. It's been an absolute pleasure. So if you guys want to hear more about Tangi, that we'll put her website and everything in the show notes. I highly recommend all of her stuff, starting on TikTok and the report. Definitely go through her website. It's incredible. It's incredible.
Thank you.
You're in for a
You're
treat.
going to have to get in line because I'm going to be hitting her up first.
Yeah, right?
Yeah. Thanks, Tangi.